Hey, Michaela, I wanted to leave you some feedback on Essay 2. Good work on this. I think that you have a clear definition presented. I think that you support um, and defend that definition quite well with your examples, and I think that you've done an excellent job of interweaving personal examples with the writers that we explored in this unit, along with those fictitious examples that we talked about in class to kind of give you guys a starting point to think about what you think education is and perhaps is not. So as a whole, I think that this is working quite well. And in fact, I really like how much you're drawing on your previous examples, or sorry, your previous personal examples to kind of support and explore these ideas. It's clear that your English instructor influenced you quite a bit, not only based on the things that you're talking about, but I would think that, or I would argue that that's also evident in the in your writing. In other words, you're a strong writer, and the fact that you have such good experience really shows. So there's just a couple things here and there that I want to talk to you about. I really like the context that you provide here. I kind of wish that you maybe dug into why this is the case, right? So why the United States uh, uh, has a tendency to push students in this direction that's not necessarily for their benefit, or push students in a direction that really helps a small minority while leaving out a lot of other students. Um, so if you wanted to expand here, I would suggest that you did a fantastic job of including the sources in your paper, in that usually when we get to essay 2, what I see is students cherry picking evidence to suit their purposes in these essays. But you really did a fantastic job, not only on your signal phrases, but also capturing the overarching main idea of the article objectively before talking about how you plan to do how you plan to use it for your purposes. I think the one thing that I would ask for here is to maybe give an example of uh, when you would come into contact with somebody with a shocking point of view, or maybe even put it into the current context of how contentious the political environment is. So having, or sorry, speaking with someone who has uh, opposing political views at this current moment, it's so easy for those conversations to just completely, spiral out of control. So I think giving an example right here would be useful. Like I said before, I love what you're doing here, and um, the way that you are comparing what part Nan is talking about to your personal experience. I like the fact, like I said before, that you brought in these fictitious examples. I just wish that there was a stronger transition here. So I know what you're doing as the reader, right? Because I was the one that wrote those prompts and gave them to you in class. But in terms of the paper, I just wish that there was a stronger way for you to transition from this idea to an example that you think illustrates it, right? So I know that you have a fictitious example here, but it's kind of unclear as to what that example is doing until you get to the end of the paragraph. So if you could create an idea transition that more clearly bridges the overarching main idea here into the idea that you're now providing an example of, the point here, I think that the sentence would read stronger. And I would argue to try that same thing with your transitions. I really like the personal example that you provided of your father. I kind of wish you gave just a little bit more there, because a lot of people look at, you know, your dad's generation and my father's generation as the last generation in the United States, really, that can have a successful that can make a successful living without a college education. So it might have been nice for you to kind of expand on, do you feel like your dad is like an isolated success story? Do you feel like there's evidence that suggests that people your age could still do this? Um, or maybe even thinking about how your dad's example has inspired or motivated you, for your own life and your own education. So there's just some minor points here and there that I think doing a little bit of expanding would be useful. But as a whole, this is a very strong paper, and I truly enjoyed reading it. All right, Michaela, thank you.